Happy Australia Month, Thirsty Thursday. We're right here. I hope you're thirsty. All the good people of Australia. We've got special guests coming on tonight. Timothy Wilms, my dear friend. He's been a good mate for years. How you going, Timmy?
Hey, Dusty. I've never heard you use the word "dear friend" before. Is that a higher up from mate?
You're getting up there. You're going up the ranks, Tim. All that you put up with, my drunken behaviour, the banter, you never leave me.
These unpredictable guests that you've sprung on me over the years.
The odd machine gun getting fired midstream.
Yeah, although we should specify to the feds watching, that was a US person where it's constitutionally protected.
That was Roots Calhoun. He was in the chat the other week, and I just like totally blew him off. And I know how it goes. I think he's sober now, but he was a chronic alcoholic. He'd be like, "It's 4 a.m. here, man," and he's just like blind drunk, tinkering on his truck, listening to us. You're just like, this is not normal behavior. But he was a legend. We've got another special guest. This man, the man, the myth, the legend, Dave, right now.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How you going?
Hi, Dave.
I am all the better for being here with the both of you.
How's Australia Month been treating you?
Rocking and a rolling, my friend. Like I'm decked out. I'm in my old cricket Guernsey that I bought at the One Day International, the Wacker, many years ago.
You look like a full blown. I'm gonna try not to swear. 2025, I'm not gonna swear, so
Nice.
I won't
Nice.
full on.
Yeah. I've got the Aussie hat here. I used to have a MAGA hat there. I'll put the green and gold hat there because it is Australia Month. I've always got the flag. I can't make the lights go green and gold because it just washes out the lighting for the cameras. Just doesn't work. The greens and the gold, they're too soft. So I've got to stick with the blues. But we got blue on the flag, so I think it's acceptable.
Beautiful. I love it. Tim, where's your flag? Usually you're sporting a flag behind you.
Tim's on mute.
Timothy Wilms, we cannot hear you. I don't know what's going on. He's having a full-blown conversation.
He's muted.
We can't even hear you, Tim.
Sorry, I turned my microphone off because I needed to burp. I already need to.
What a gentleman.
Yes. If I need to burp, fart, I press the mute button.
We're moving into a positive direction this year, 2025. There's going to be no swearing the effing head off, and Tim's not going to just belch one out midair.
I'm not even drinking a beer tonight, mate. I'm on a health kick, so I've got my soda water from the Soda Stream with a bit of lemon juice and cayenne pepper. I'm like,
I love that.
puts hairs on your chest. That's what it does.
I'm just gonna keep drinking beer throughout Australian Month.
I've clearly had too much of that.
Or hairs on your chest.
yeah.
I've got a little. This is my knife. My mate made this knife for me. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
It's like it's quite beautifully. I don't know what they do. I think they like acid wash the steel. It's called Damascus steel. Look at that.
It's beautiful. I didn't know we were doing a knife showing event, or I would have brought it.
Yeah, it's just to pop the beer open, to be honest, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's not a knife, Dusty.
Although have you seen Wolf Creek?
Oh my goodness, I saw it once and that was enough.
Yeah. Mick Taylor here, and I'm gonna break the non-swearing. Like, one of the Sheilas is about to murder. She's got some kitchen knife trying to stab him, and he's like, "That's not a knife. This is a fucking knife," and then kills her.
You've just broken the swear rule.
Yeah. Well, I'm quoting a movie. It's an iconic line by John Jarratt.
Nah, now I want to see that movie.
He's a freak
How
in
many
that
people
movie.
does he kill in the movie?
Half a dozen
It's
on
in the
camera.
sequel. The death tally goes up, like as it
I'm not
always
watching the
does in
sequel. I have
horror
no interest.
sequels.
I'm not big on horror movies to begin with, and we were at a frat my sister-in-law's house, and they put this Wolf Creek thing on. I had no idea what it was, and I'm like, oh, what is this? This is so bad.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
there's
really
the
do horror, actually.
so
Like
there's the scene
Terminator
where
2 is like, I think that was classified as horror. Like,
E2?
one and two.
No.
Sci-fi. What about The
Yeah.
Predator? That's not horror. That's just sci-fi.
Action sci-fi, yeah.
Action sci-fi. But yeah, I don't really do horror.
I
What's the most freakiest thing you've ever? Do you reckon any ghost experience?
No, but Tim, what's your go-to horror film? Like, are you a horror guy?
Yeah, I've seen heaps of them. I'm not sure. Probably the Scream franchise is pretty good.
One that did my head in as I saw it at the cinemas. That's how old I am. The Ring.
Nobody
goodness.
uses VHSs anymore, so I don't know. Is there going to be on a streaming service?
That was mental. That film.
And nobody
That was-
has landlines either.
Yeah, that was bad. Bad. The Ring. That was not good.
It was always funny when like she like came out of the TV and murdered them, and their face was like like their tongue was like halfway down.
Just the whole like peeling the fly. Everything about it was just. I haven't watched it for a long time, but Evil Dead 2 is a classic. With what's his face? Oh, with his boomstick. Ash is the name of the character.
With the chainsaw arm and all that.
Yeah, that guy.
That's like beyond a. That's more like slash comedy slash action. Like it's.
Well, the second one is the first one. They were going for a bit of proper horror. It came across a little bit corny just because it was such a low budget film. It looks a bit B grade.
That was a terrifying film. Like it was pretty freaky.
Yeah.
What was it like? There was a.
The Necronomicon or whatever, they found the Book of the Dead, and they revealed it, and all this stuff started coming up out of the attic and killing them all, and disembodied hands and stuff, and like he cut his hand off. That's why he ended up with a chainsaw hand or something. I don't know.
Did any of you watch the Goosebumps children's horror growing up?
Nah, it was,
that was pretty scary.
Bit after my time.
Yeah, the two like where they made multiple series was the Haunted Mask, where it would change your personality and then it could get stuck on, and then there was the Evil Dummy, where like the family would get a dummy and then there's some card in it, and like they'd read it and then the dummy comes to life and starts terrorizing them.
That's weird.
Yeah, so if you ever get a toy which has got some strange card writing on it, don't read it out.
Yeah, I mean, I reckon the freakiest thing, and what about the freakiest thing in real life you've experienced? Like, even like, we went hunting out west. It was northern New South Wales, northwest inland, and it's so like isolated, and like having to go take a dump at like 1 a.m. in the morning, and you're like, I was just like, I'm taking my rifle with me because it's just like Yowie country. I'm like, I'm gonna get my arms ripped off and be like,
drop bears.
You know what I mean? You're just like blind drunk stumbling through the woods with a torch, being like watching for spiders and snakes, and you're just like, if you like tripped over the wrong way, you'll a goof. It's going to be a horrible experience in the middle of the night.
Not a good place.
There's no room for error. I think like in this state, maybe my mind was like the risk factors are increasing. Even walking to go take a dump in the woods, you're like, I could roll my ankle and then I'm fucked. You know what I'm saying? So your brain just freaks out a bit and just like,
hey, Dusty, language. Language.
Yeah.
You're dropping F-bombs already, mate. Not even 10 minutes in. I don't know, real life. I mean, I I can't think of anything like that. Like not as an adult. Like
Just
like
walking past an.
I hate it when you walk through a
metal.
spider web. That's the thing. When you're in the dark and you walk through a spider web and you have no idea where the spider is, how big it was, whether it's on you, and you just got all that web stuff sticking on you. I freaking hate that. That freaking kills me.
Yeah, I still don't do spider or snake horror. I'd never watch Snakes on a Plane.
Oh, that's not really a horror, is it? That's.
If anyone wants to drop a comment, we got like 43 people watching, and not one comment has been
Anaconda.
That's sus.
Did you watch Anaconda with Ice Cube?
No.
That was pretty crazy. That was again just bad CG snake effects. Like it's kind of funny some of the stuff in that one. Now when I was a kid and I was before Goosebumps, there was the classic ones were Labyrinth. Labyrinth was a bit freaky. A lot of the Jim Henson stuff. There was this other series I looked up called The Storyteller, where they had all these weird stories that were all semi-animated with Muppets things and sort of these sort of semi-fantasy horror folktale things. They were pretty freaky, some of those. There were a few of those sorts of shows back in the 80s and 90s, early 90s that were a little bit weird.
Yeah, what was up with that shit? Now, like, I reflect back and I think, do you ever remember watching the Batman cartoon series? You know, he was like wearing grey and he'd be like bashing people. Like, it was the most violent, hardcore stuff. I'm like 5 years old. I'm like I'm like, yeah, we should watch that. Remember this? Me and my older brother were watching, like, our kids are around. We were watching like the original X-Men cartoon and the original Batman kind of when we were kids. And we're like, we've got to turn it off, mate. It's like, you know, there's like drug addicts and, you know, just horrible stuff happening. And I'm thinking, whoa.
Yeah, now the some of the Muppet stuff, the Henson factory gear in the 80s, like was pretty creepy. I'm just looking at some of the storyteller were like videos, like 2 or 3 stories on a video. You'd hire this thing. You like would proactively choose to bring this stuff into your house for your children. And you look at some of the cover photos for this thing, and you're going, that is freaky. Why are you making children watch these weird, demented, scary tales of
Beetlejuice?
Muppets and Giants? Oh, that was kind of an adult film though. Storyteller was aimed at kids. It's like Never-Ending Story had some freaky scenes in it that were like this was some stuff made for kids. No wonder we all grew up a little bit harder than the current generation because we were scared to death as children.
Horrified. Yeah. Twisted.
Yes.
How many barbecues have you lads had during Australia Month? I swear, I've just been like every 3 days we're getting people come around, have a barbie, jump in the pool.
We're in the middle of winter here at the moment. I can't do that because I'm sleeping with a doona on at the moment here in Sydney. It's freaking ridiculous. Seriously, it was 21 yesterday was the top temperature.
I thought it was supposed to be winter in the US. Yeah, California's on fire, and our media, they were expecting bushfires here. They're fucking scumbags wanting our media here, basically wanting like bushfire disaster porn. But they're now, there's this. They're called wildfires over there in the middle of their winter.
It's pretty mental what's going on. The size of that fire, that's a bad fire. Like Australian look of fire. And the fact that it's going through so many populated building areas, like our bushfires, they hit the occasional town and stuff, and remote houses and farmland and stuff. Like I don't want to, like bad stuff happens in our big bushfires and people do lose property and stuff, but the scale of the property that's being lost in California at the moment is completely next level. It's like if the fires raged down through like Ipswich or whatever up in Queensland, right, and just started destroying entire suburbs and towns.
Just let it burn, I reckon.
Wow.
Is it true that that we exported gum trees to California? Like, is
100%.
Which they're basically like petrol.
Yeah. It's great that I've been to San Francisco a few times for my old job, and once I was in the Uber going to wherever, and you go through one of their parks there, and the windows down, and it's like, this smells like Australia because it's just all the eucalypts, like it's just full of gum trees. I'm like, this is mental. I'm halfway around the world and it smells like home, just because I've got gum trees.
That's
And so yeah, when the fires rip through those, as we know in Australia, the way it gets through the gum oils, and just, but I don't know if that's the issue in the Palisades. They're saying they've just got really strong winds blowing in the wrong direction.
And
so then embers are blowing into town and lighting up more buildings, and it just keeps pushing the fire.
No water, because Gavin Newsom flushed it all to the ocean to save the fish.
Yeah. So yeah, no water in the fire hydrants, bad forest management. They haven't been doing backburning and raking and clearing out all the brush and the underscrub. So it's been just sitting there as a tinderbox. It's a bit of a perfect storm.
We're not doing too badly in Australia compared to California. I mean, there's still hazard reduction burns in Australia. The greenies, thankfully, have been ignored on that one.
Do you reckon if you were like a crazy Islamic extremist and you're like, I want to fucking do a terrorist attack, you just like drive down the road flicking Winnie Blues out the fucking car?
Yeah, but don't they want to claim responsibility if they do it?
Maybe. That's true. They just, yeah. They could claim responsibility. What's wrong with that?
They don't. But then you see the news footage of like little like media things flying in or out of the fire, and people are like, oh, it's aliens, it's like a space attack. And I think I saw one guy put a picture on there, which is a far more reasonable explanation, which is, barbecue gas cans, just lighting up and just shooting. There's plenty of explosive stuff in people's houses, as there are all these fuel canisters and stuff that would be lighting up, or morons trying to send their drones in to get photos of it. You can see that kind of stuff happening. No, burnt body.
We started a fire when we were teenagers. We almost burnt. It got out of control on us. There's like an abandoned mine, so we went up there with petrol and the old CO2 sparkler bombs.
Mm-hmm.
It was more socially acceptable. This is before I think they did change like laws around all that, and teenagers aren't really doing that crazy crap anymore. But yeah, we would go up there and would blow up CO2 canisters and sparkler bombs, and we lit like a huge section of the bush on fire. But we luckily we were at the top of a hill. Someone threw something down the hill, so it like burnt back up the hill, and yeah, it was epic. We were freaking out. We were like snapping branches off trees and like stamping it out. So it took us probably like 2 hours to put a fire out, and we were like, I was absolutely exhausted. Like, the fire's out, I'm laying on the ground like, oh my God, like I've almost died of all the smoke I've been breathing in. I'm burnt and stuff. It was epic.
Matches. Never ever play with matches, my friend. That's
could just be teenagers being retards.
Yeah. They don't do that stuff as much, unless they're like trying to be all what's the word for them, where they wear those stupid little gay bags around their things, and their eshays.
The old eshays.
The eshays. But they seem more concerned about trying to look cool and yell at old people than go and like get into shenanigans like that.
Yeah, they're too busy trying to score meth. Back in the day, it would be like, people would want to have a little dirt bike fun in the bush, and it was a bit more in Ipswich. There used to be so many open trails, like Ipswich. You're just driving along, and you're like, "Ooh, that looks like a cool little 4-drive track."
Even before then, right? I think it's the legacy of before you're a teenager. You just spend your whole life like, as a 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old or whatever, on your push bike, just riding around and finding places and finding tracks that the kids that were sort of 5 to 10 years older than you that had been burning through these bushlands for decades, and you'd follow those and see where they went, and you just go on these adventures, these mad adventures as kids. and you know you'd go and like build cubby houses in the bush and drag all branches and make these little bases that you'd go and hang out in for 3 days and get bored of it and then do something else. And then so by the time you're teenagers, you're sort of leveling up that sort of shenanigans. Whereas now the kids, we wrap them in so much cotton wool. There's no chance they're doing that as like into those preteen years, right? It's insane.
We had like, so the same quarry, like you were saying, the older, maybe 5 years older than us, teenagers or young adults, they had this like tree fort, and it was probably like 5 meters by 5 meters, like suspended in the air, and it's probably 3 meters up, right? And you could like climb on it, you could walk around. We'd have like 10 of us on top of it. And so we like inherited this thing. You know, we never knew who built it, but we dragged like 4 couches up there. We had a big fire pit. We ended up getting that, you know, the orange high-vis like safety barrier kind of tape.
Yeah.
We wrapped that around, and then we actually like built a proper door. We framed up one side properly with a door, and we had like, we would live in this place, man. Like school holidays, I'd go up there and I'd be like, I'm going up there for 3-4 days, never to return. Have an esky with food, and I'd have like a hot plate, beers, goon, weed. Would have like, back then you'd have like a little you'd have batteries. I don't think we even had rechargeable batteries. So if you were like going up for like a 4-day party, you know, you would actually have to fucking buy the big batteries for your boombox. It was awesome.
B cells.
Yeah. It was so much fun. I'd go missing and my family would be like, where is he? And then I'd come back and I'd just be like, yeah, I've been in the hut. We'd call it the hut.
Did you have older brothers, Dusty?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing. Like, if you had older brothers, they were doing all that kind of mad stuff, and because they were the sort of the completely unleashed sort of early Gen Xers, and they were feral, and so older brothers rubbed off on the next generation a little bit on the later Gen Xers. I didn't have any older brothers, but my mate did, and so I sort of got a little bit of it rubbed off on me because I had friends, but. Now the current crop of kids, they've got nothing like that. They got no one.
They're like Chinese kids. Have you ever met a Chinaman? Like, I got Chinese workmate. They don't have siblings. Like, the CCP aborted all our siblings, so they're like all childless. They have no siblings. It's like a weird thing.
Like single kids, like single kids.
Yeah. A whole fucking. You're just like, that is so fucked up, bro. Happy Australia Month. We've got the official Australia Month X page. Give the Australia Month page a follow.
Yeah, get on that, baby.
Good. It's been terrific watching Australia Month this year. It's the genuine grassroots, like the amount of people. Every day I go and I just go to the search bar and I look up Australia Month. And there's all these new people I'm following. Like, if someone's posting Australia Month, they're getting a follow.
Nice. I haven't done as much in week 2. Week 1, I was pretty active because I was up in Port Macquarie, or for you, Dusty, down in Port Macquarie. And I didn't realize how much Federation stuff like was surrounding there with Edmund Barton and the history there. So I was like reading all these different plaques as I walked along the coastline. They had all the historical plaques. I went to the Port Macquarie Museum and was reading all the stuff there. And it was awesome. It was great to kick off Australia Month in a place that was so filled with history. Because now I live out in northwest Sydney, out in the sticks and the suburbs. There's no ancient history here. Everything's been bulldozed down and put in shoebox housing lots.
I totally didn't hear the end bit because I was listening to this guy. I was reading this comment section. The UK voted down setting up an investigation into Muslim rape gangs. Did they actually vote it down? Like, I did see.
It was like 364 to 111 or something.
Yeah, because you know that Keir Starmer, before he was a politician, he was the director of the Crown Prosecution Service, while these predominantly Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs were grooming and raping British white girls, and the authorities were ignoring it because they didn't want to be seen as racist. And also, he also failed to prosecute the BBC's worst pedophile, Jimmy Savile. So there was lots of non-prosecutions under prosecutor Keir Starmer.
What a scumbag piece of shit.
Oh yeah, he is.
The whole thing is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard of in my life. Like I don't really involve myself when things get to that point where it's just absolutely disgusting. Often if it's a mass shooting or a terrorist attack, something like this, I'll just be like,
Britain,
I don't even comment.
Broken.
And this is what the left has done, though, right? With like whether it's we don't want to appear racist, so let's pretend that those people that have been coming in from other countries and believing in the religion of peace, we couldn't dare assert or allege that they're doing things because that would be improper. So we'll just let our people deal with the consequences. And we've done the same thing with Sheila's and Spore, right? Oh, we don't want to offend that person who's chopped their knob off, or maybe they've just tucked it back because they've said they're a woman. So it's polite. It's polite to say, yes, you're a woman. Now go to that boxing ring and beat the crap out of the other woman.
Though, thankfully, in Australia, when there were these predominantly Lebanese Muslim rape gangs in Sydney in the late 90s, they were successfully prosecuted and convicted. There was widespread public disgust at the time. We thankfully had a legendary prosecutor in New South Wales, Margaret Cunneen, who put them all behind bars. I actually met her once at a function.
And like they're targeting like the girls they target would be like single parent home, low socioeconomic, like like a family could have a divorce, mental health problems, addiction, whatever causes a family breakdown, like horrible stuff. And then there's kids involved, and then the boys are probably up to no good, drugs and crime and stuff, and the little girls are left and are vulnerable. Like these are the most vulnerable people who don't have family, like they don't have a solid family unit. They don't have a dad around, or maybe the dads can't even get access to their kids. That's like another common thing. Dads get shut out of the equation, and you know what I mean? So it's just like horrible.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. And like regardless of whether you think Tommy Robinson's good or bad, or whether it should be in jail or not, they're using that as a bit of a distraction.
Legend.
Using it as a bit of a distraction technique to stop talking about the real issue, which is not Tommy Robinson. It's the fact that this has happened and needs to be stopped, and didn't get prosecuted properly. Like, yeah, it's more bread and circuses.
Tommy was the one who really put his neck out on the line, and he publicly, like exposed all this in a time where, it's crazy when you think of Zuckerberg's out there saying, "Oh, I want to champion freedom of speech," and you're like, I'm thinking, dude, all this rape gang stuff was like, if you mentioned it back in the day, like Tommy, you'd just get deplatformed. Like that was the first wave of censorship. Was you couldn't say anything about Islam. Islam was fully protected, and that was because of Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
So it's all connected. Like it is all connected. And at the time, Tommy was a hero because I guess he went up against the censorship machine, and despite the censorship machine, he continued on and he cut through the power of the censorship machine, and people en masse got to know what the hell was going on.
What kills me about guys like Tommy though is then in one hand he's saying yes we need to stop these abuses against women, and then in the next minute he's going out and hanging out with blokes like Andrew Tate, who is self-confessed on many video clips talking about how much he abuses women and takes advantage of them to make money and so on. So it's like,
It's the
dude,
exact
like,
same demographic of young,
right,
vulnerable girls from
exactly,
broken
it's
homes
exactly
getting
who
taken
Tate
in.
goes after, and so like why are you picking and choosing, Tommy? Why is it okay to hang out and have Tate as your top G, who has also said that he's a Muslim now, as he's living over there in Romania under house arrest, waiting for prosecution for his alleged crimes? Which, like I said, the guys like Milk Bar TV on X have got such a litany of video archive footage from Tate himself admitting to doing all of this devious, horrible crap.
I think Milk Bar TV harps on about Andrew Tate too much when he could be. Like, obviously, he puts out other great content as well, but I think he's too fixated on Andrew Tate when he could be making content which is less like divisive on the distant side.
We, as creators, we all choose our targets.
I know,
and what's important to
and
us. And
that's just
some people probably
my.
say I've done too much on net zero stuff. Like I look through my archive and I've done heaps on energy
Well,
and
we
net
all
zero.
agree that net zero is going to lead us to year zero.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying, and I know Nathan's been a part of my Awakened Aussies show on Mondays, which is coming back this Monday, by the way. New look, new panels. But and I think Nathan's done some really great work. And if he chooses to spend his time and energy continuing to try and prosecute the case against the Tates, then power to him. And if he's going to use it to, support more redeeming or do anything else, he's a free creator. He can do that. So I get like you see a lot, and he does post a lot, but that's because there's a lot of content. And I think like I kind of agree to the point that so many people have the wool pulled over their eyes or are willfully ignorant around the Tates. And so like you will see Nathan pushing back against Elon at the moment because Elon's retweeting and giving Tate some cred. And he's like, Elon, what are you doing? You have like 200 something million followers. Do you not recognize the hypocrisy of backing this guy who says this thing, but then also does very similar things, allegedly? It's pretty crazy. And so calling out the double standard, I get doing that because otherwise so many people continue to go, oh, yeah, he's a top G. Oh, yeah, he's empowering men. Oh, yeah. What's your problem with
He
Andrew
just
Tate?
seems to, from what I observe, Andrew Tate just sort of like go where the popular opinion is. I mean, it's funny him talking about like, we need to save white Britain when he's like half black himself. He seems to be erasing his black side now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the opposite of everyone else, right? You got people like Lydia Thorpe that are trying to erase their white side.
Do we reckon that she puts on a bit of extra makeup?
She
certainly hasn't gone down the Stan Grant path, that's for sure, with the tanning machine or whatever Stan's done. But
mate, I was looking pretty fucking tanned over the Christmas break.
Oh yeah, me too, mate. Like my tan lines are.
You look like a typical Irishman there, Dave.
Yeah, with the alabaster sort of white straight into the brown.
Beautiful golden reddish.
I was wearing the tank for a little bit. I had the sort of the Baywatch uniform on. I found that in Best and Less and was like, oh, that's freaking gold, red shorts. But yeah. Anyway.
So what about Zuckerberg then? Like, you reckon people are going to go back to Facebook? Like, who is on Facebook and what's it like over there? Because
people on Facebook are the people that never left. Like,
it's so boring.
Grandparents. Facebook. It's grandparents and it's your suburbs community groups. That's pretty much what it is, right? That's what Facebook is. It's the little community group for the suburb, for the residents to whinge and moan and complaining about, you parked across my driveway. Oh, there's fireworks upsetting the dogs. and meme
And I
accounts.
jumped in quick on the Facebook and went crazy. And, back when there was, I don't know, lots of fun protest Brisbane City, and somehow I got
Facebook was
fiercely deplatformed, like at the level of Tommy Robinson. Like Facebook went after me, bro. Facebook and
didn't it go
Instagram.
after all the Proud Boys?
Yeah, we got mass deplatformed. They went after the day my son was born. They deplatformed my wife across Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, just for like, I think she was like mid posting a photo of our newborn son, and it was like gone forever, just wiped. And she's not political at all. Didn't really care about what I'm up to. I'm just, someone with an opinion, and she's probably more politically minded now. She's like more aware. Like everyone's become more aware. Like back then, I think we were sort of like, raising concerns about gay marriage and Islam and mass migration or whatever, all freedom of speech, like the typical stuff of concern. We were just talking about it, like nothing out of the ordinary, you know what I mean? But that was enough to get fully deplatformed, treated horribly.
Yeah, I just, even with all this content I do, I just haven't bothered that much. I upload the occasional video there, or when I put up a reel on Insta, I tick the little box and it can go to Facebook as well. But I pay it zero attention because I don't care.
Facebook has deprioritized news because they refuse to succumb to this news media code extortion, where governments are mandating that Facebook has to pay news organizations for links that are shared on their website, even though the fact that the traffic is being driven from Facebook to their website. So people are clicking on news websites from Facebook, and the news websites are demanding, even though Facebook's referring them, demanding payment from Facebook. It's totally perverse. So that's another contributor to why, like, the Unshackled has about 22,000 followers on Facebook.
Wow.
When we post there, we're lucky to get 3 or 4 likes now, just because of the combination of suppression. I lost my original Facebook profile in 2019 for simply reporting on Blair Cottrell's appeal trial in the county court. His name and face is deemed to be violent content, and so I'm not sure if I was reported, but it just like went through all the articles that I did with his face on it, and just deleted my account.
So did you watch Zuck's 5-minute thing? I did a little piece on it yesterday for my channel, and so I watched the whole thing. And he's saying that, yeah, the filters are doing too much, and while there's bad stuff we need to stop, we have gone too far with our complicated filters, and even if they're only blocking 1% of posts, that's millions of posts that they shouldn't be blocking if they're the wrong ones. So we need to lighten that up a little bit, and they're going to bring in community notes. But what I thought was really telling is he goes, people... We stopped suggesting civic content because people said politics was stressing them out. But now it appears that people actually do want to be involved and understand what's going on politically. So we're going to start letting that content through again. I was like, so the kind of stuff we do on these channels, no wonder it doesn't get any traction, because I've been deprioritizing it. It's not appearing in anyone's For You feeds or in their little shorts, reel scrolling or whatever, because...
But they only put out mainstream. I bet your mainstream news is still getting through, right?
I don't even see. Maybe I'm
no,
not following them.
They're demanding payment from Facebook.
The reels, like if you're just flicking through reels, though, you wouldn't see much of my shorts from my stuff because it's politically inclined. You just get the funny stuff, which I'm kind of okay with. I like just watching the funny stuff on my reels. But it's not good for my channel.
Yeah. But people are saying that basically Zuckerberg is just copying whatever Elon Musk does now, including getting a hair transplant. I mean, Zuckerberg, his hair was thinning, and then he's got these huge ginger curls. Because Elon Musk, if you see him earlier in his career, his hair was thinning, but he got the transplant. So he's literally copying Musk so much, he's getting the same hair treatment.
Zuck said that he's a libertarian now, right? So I mean, and we've got some comments in there. He's riding the wave. He's not common sense. The right thing to do. He's pivoting. Maybe it's all just survival, and just trying to keep the advertisers on the platform and stop them all running elsewhere.
The Twitter files revealed that it was governments who were, well, not just simply nudging, but coercing social media. I mean, they weren't doing this like of their own volition, initiative. They were being massively, and I think you would remember, Dusty, after the Christchurch massacre, Scott Morrison demanded Facebook crack down on so-called extremist content. Yeah. I mean, he was a massive cuck during that time, and was during COVID as well.
Yeah, that was crazy. It's almost. I remember around that shooting, because I was at a friend's house and I made it on the news in Ipswich. So I remember we were went to my mate's house to watch the New Zealand shooting video. Somehow he quickly ripped it, and he had it on a hard drive or something. So we're let's go watch it. And then we're sitting there about to watch it, and I was scrolling through whatever social media I was on, and bang, there I was popped up on Channel 7 at a One Nation event in Ipswich, and I was like, yes. And it was so crazy. It was it was the first, I think it was the very first second protest I've went to in my life, and it was about 21 dads commit suicide a week in Australia because they don't get access to their kids. It's that was what the protest was about. And we went there with Malcolm Roberts from One Nation, and the media just absolutely twisted it. They were calling him misogynistic, and they were there's a domestic violence crisis happening, and Malcolm Roberts is here, and he's all this crap. I was like, holy shit. It's the whole thing was just purely about depression and suicide, and can men get help and have community. And it was the biggest wake-up call for me, because it was you know what I mean? So I remember that night. I remember the night I watched it, because it was the first night I got it on the news. And
I mean, that sort of media stitch up's not uncommon though, right? They did the same thing to Moira Redeeming and said she was hanging out with Nazis. They do it all the time. They take one thing and you get a few sort of agitators turn up and they become the story, and they say, "Oh, this rally attracts all these bad types." I was shocked at the misinformation, disinformation rally. That apart from we had that Cossack buffet come and irritate and sort of put up all this, have his own second show to prove that he can have a voice. It's free speech. If we could have a rally in a park too. You can't control who gets to have rallies in parks. I'm like, that's not the point of the misinformation, disinformation bill, you idiot. So apart from him agitating, there was no other random black hoods or black hats or anything turning up. But that happens all the time, right?
Yeah. Everything in the media you just cannot trust or believe at all. And then racists, the racists you're talking about aren't even racist. With the same logic, every demographic in Australia is racist. Every Vietnamese community, the African community, the Indian community, they're all racist. They all think exactly the same way. It's only white people who can't think in-group preference. So it's racism is just this retarded idea. All they're saying is you can't in-group preference because your skin color's white. Everyone else does. Everyone else thinks about it. Everyone else talks about. Everyone else segregates and looks out for their own community. It's only if you have white skin you can't. Like that is a fact. So it's like commie speak that we've been programmed to.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you know, technically, the skin color has nothing to do with who you are culturally, right? You can have second, third generation Indian, Chinese people that are full skippies. They just still look like their sort of hereditary heritage. And so from that point of view, you go, okay, the skin color doesn't matter. That's not, but it is so often linked with, oh, you look like that kind of people, so you probably, you know, there's a high chance you associate with many of the things people associate with that culture and that background of people. So, you know, you do get like what Zuck said. If we misidentify 1% of people because of their skin color doesn't align with their culture, that's where you get in the troubles. You get all those edge cases, and I know heaps of people like that in my own life. People that came here or like in as you know as younger guys or their parents did or whatever, and they're awesome. And so this is the issue. So there's this awesome category of people that immigrated and became Australians, and they're true blue Aussies, and skin color doesn't matter. But there's so many people that are coming here that have no interest in being Australian. They just want our resources and weather, and live in their enclaves and keep their own other country culture. We end up with these nations within nations, and we're getting all this fracturing of our social cohesion.
Many of them were at the cricket this summer.
I see segregation every day, like at my church. We have a multi-ethnic church. We're all Christian, but we all segregate even inside our church. Like the Africans all chill together, the Latinos chill together, the whites are together. We're together, we're Christian, we've voluntarily decided to come to this community together, but we still prefer to be around our own. So there's not a problem that I have no problem with people who want to voluntarily segregate themselves. I think it's absolutely fine. Well, there is no harm in that. You know what I mean? Maybe there's harm in like being a nasty prick. You know what I mean? And deliberately going out of your way and being an asshole to different groups. Like I kind of don't. Even if I say I'm anti-immigration and the 2.8 million people in Australia who are on temporary visas, they could all re-migrate tomorrow. Like I do believe that, but I don't believe that them people are. I don't necessarily think they're bad people at all. Like I'm not saying they're bad people. I do want them to leave. I do think it's better for the next generation to own a home, to keep the Australian dream of home ownership alive. I think that prioritizes over them 100%. We have to prioritize that 100% over these temporary work visa people. Doesn't mean I hate them. I work with guys on temporary work visas, good, hard-working dudes. You can have a laugh with them. They segregate at lunch. I segregate at lunch with my own kind. We don't hate each other. We get along. Like, this is the new way it is. Like, this is what multiculturalism is. Like, they pretended it was like the melting pot. I don't know if it really is.
Well, there's some melting going on in England of women's faces by acid attacks by men of a certain culture. I mean, obviously, that's quite a bad taste
Middle East
joke, but that's literally what's happening.
I can't see like a Chinese person acting like that. I can't see.
So there was that Chinaman who threw the hot coffee over that baby Luca in Brisbane.
Dude threw that coffee,
and it's also important because as blokes, we also all get tarred with the toxic masculinity brush, which is unfair because we're men. We get hit with this thing, and I think that's the other thing we need to be careful of. That individuals can be jerks, whether they're Asian, Indian, white, Jewish, whatever, Catholic. It doesn't matter. There's individuals that do perverse, a-hole, jerk things that has nothing to do with all those demographic characteristics. they're just a broken human individual
So,
with mental problems.
according to that Chinaman's friend, when he fled to China, he did it because his visa extension had been denied, so he wanted to attack a white baby. So it was an anti-white hate crime.
He was a broken individual. It's got nothing to do with the fact he's Chinese. It's just he
But
was
how
an
come China
a-hole.
isn't like extraditing him here to Australia, hunting him down for us?
Separate issue. But yeah, someone shared
If we
with
did
me.
anything like that, you would go to. I would imagine you'd go to jail for an F-ton amount of time. Like it is too. We've got a double standard in this country. Like Anglophobia. Here's someone who targeted a white child.
Yeah, and the
Racist
police, they didn't want to mention the attacker's race. They were too busy being politically correct.
The
They
full
didn't bother
media.
to stop him leaving the country.
Yeah.
I always go, there's two sides to that, right? Like, if you need to share the race so you can identify and track him and put out an APB and let people know to keep an eye out, the whole Crime Stoppers thing, then you should totally be letting people know that. But I also get that if it's irrelevant to the crime, you don't want to label it. And because, we do have a bunch of people that are completely racist a-holes that will just go, oh, that one jerk a-hole did that thing and he's this demographic, so now I'm going to pay out on all of that demographic all the time because that's how I believe.
I just think race, how we say race or racist, I just don't know if I even think it's real. Like Asians, look out for Asians. Africans, look out for Africans. Aboriginals,
tribes more than race. It's tribalism, right?
For themselves.
It's tribalism. You look after the people in your tribe that are like you.
They have their own active lobbying groups. They segregate. They look out for their own. I don't even have a problem with that. I just think that's human nature and natural. Like, I don't see necessarily larger crime rates coming out of different groups. I don't know. I don't experience it or see it. Like, I've had Islanders and Aborigines and so many people go out of their way to help me and be nice to me and polite to me. That's true. That's true fact. Like, so it's like this thing. They'll be like, you are a racist. But it's like, why? Because I self-segregate and I only hang out with Anglos. Though I'm, look, that's a true fact to me. But when my Kiwi friend's dad bashed her mum, I opened up my granny flat and said, yeah, your mum and your siblings, all these Maoris lived in my house. And then when they got back on their feet, the dad who bashed the mum, he lost his job. And I said, mate, come move in. He moved in. He got his life sorted out. And now the family are all actually Mickey Mouse. And so as much as I can say to you the things the way I do believe in common decency. And I do think other races, though they do segregate, also believe in common decency and will treat Anglos very well. I think we all do treat each other very well, but there is what many people are accused of as being racist is not, in fact, racism, just because they want to segregate or they don't want the country to be flooded by immigrants or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so someone shared with me a whole bunch of quotes from all our founding fathers and stuff, all these things, and quotes from like a former ALP leader. If Australians are ever foolish enough to open their gates to people other than Europeans, they will soon find themselves fighting desperately to stop the nation from being flooded by hordes of non-integrables, and will face vicious racial problems like that of the USA and elsewhere. Or you got Henry Parkes, the guy, they named the dish place after it.
The challenge would be to not view that as a racist comment. That's not a racist comment.
No, but it's saying non-integrables is the thing, right? And the issue is we haven't had that integrable thing. And so it doesn't matter where you're from. If you come and integrate as an Aussie, and that's what I was saying, like people I've hired in my teams, people I'm good friends with and mates with, they're Aussies, regardless of where they came from. They're Aussies now because they integrated. But it's the problem with the non-integrables, the ones that
the
just come in.
multiculturalists, they've turned assimilation and integration into a dirty word.
Yeah.
And I saw Tony Abbott on talking to Peter Credlin at the end of last year, saying just that, and saying there's too many people who are just living in hotel Australia. Like there's people who are like they're getting citizenship of Australia but have no intention of identifying as Australian, i.e. embracing and integrating.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And the issue is that then that becomes a dirty word when we talk about sort of the Aboriginal people as well. How dare you say they should integrate into modern Australian society? We should continue just to throw free money at them to live in remote bush camps where no one would ever choose to live because there's no opportunities there and nothing to do. And the only reason they can stay there is because we throw free money at them. But how dare you suggest they should actually integrate into society and not just live in remote bush camps relying on handouts?
But it's still apparently white man's fault that they're there. Like I reckon a lot of
it is because we've just thrown money at them and said stay there.
I wonder how much of the youth crime in Alice Springs is racially motivated because they're taught to hate white people.
I think it's maybe some of it, but I think it's also just boredom and lack of parenting.
I mean, my youth boys, so I did 2,500 hours of volunteering as a youth leader in Inala, and a large percentage, maybe 25% of my boys were Indigenous. So, like, these guys have been at this house hundreds of hours. I've picked them up from the cop shop. I've hung out with them, spent so much time with them, seen them finish school and get their first job, get their driver's license, all that. You know what I mean? I was there at their school graduation. I love these dudes. They're my mates. I care about them. But like everyone in the youth group, Islanders, Africans, Bogans, we all segregated off to our own groups. Dudes would be here. Youth boys would be here. The 3 Islander lads were sitting together. The 4 Abos are sitting together. The 5 Aussie kids are sitting together. The 2 Vietnamese kids were hanging together. We would segregate in church, though we were together. And even they went to school together. They played on their own same footy teams. We go to the same church. Right now, every one of them is, as adults, have segregated back into their own racial demographic. We're still mates. We care for each other. If the boys see me, they'll be like, Dusty, thanks so much. Often Aboriginal kids will be like, Oi, Dusty, at the pub, thanks so much for everything you did for us. I love you. They're like grown men. They're now grown men. They'll tell me this, eh? But like, you know, they know I'm a Bogan. I know they are Aborigines. They are like, I don't know what that integration really looks like. Like realistically, it's like be law-abiding citizens, get a job, make an honest living, contribute to civic society.
Well, it's not having enclaves of these subcultures that just live in their enclaves and continue to permeate. I grew up in WA, right? And WA, compared to, I don't know what it's like up in Queensland, but I know here in Sydney, there's specific suburbs that they know. It's like, oh, the Italians are there, and the Lebanese are there, and the Chinese are there, and there's these cultural enclave suburbs which are predominantly. We don't have a lot of that in WA. Everyone's just kind of mixed through and scattered around. And so you have a lot more of this integration across different people because you don't have that sort of that enclave, I suppose, is the word I've said way too many times now.
Like in Inala, there's 30% Vietnamese, right? And so the Vietnamese community in Inala I think they're statistically the most successful immigrants. Their children are like the most educated university degree outcome for a demographic. So me and my brother got work for a Vietnamese concreting company because the children aren't concreting because they're all engineers and dentists and shit. You know what I'm saying? So it is kind of the cool story. These were Christian Vietnamese people who hated communism, were very grateful to be Australian. It would give young Australians work and an opportunity. Very good people, fucking great people, but they segregate to the max and want to just be around other Vietnamese people. Like, I don't really have a problem with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean,
you
everyone
just
hangs out with
understand
people.
the reality of the situation. Like, this is just the truth. Like, that's just the way it is. That was good to me. I was good to them. We got along. Consider them friends.
It's like anyone, regardless of any of that. Some people you get along with really well and will be your best mates and you'll hang out with all the time. Other people are a bit more fringe friends and you don't have as much in common. And so a lot of people do. And maybe there is a genetic DNA thing in there. Maybe it is that, that sort of like fast thinking, slow thinking thing where like we do pattern recognition and go, oh, very familiar. You look familiar. And so your brain sort of drops a level of guard with people like that. And so it instantly brings you a layer closer and there's less walls to tear down to actually connect as humans. And so maybe there's something there subconsciously that we don't understand psychologically. I don't know. But I think, you're allowed to choose who you want to be friends with as well. And that doesn't make it racist.
No.
You're allowed to, hang out with who you choose to hang out with. And if that happens to look like apparently on the surface level skin color thing.
Which there is the African Youth Centre. I drive past it going to my brother's house, the African Community Youth Centre. So am I allowed to have the Anglo-Celtic Community Centre? Can I just be the Anglo-Celtic? Well, I mean, the British Australian community does exist, and I'm not officially a member of it.
Well, I'm talking about whether that would be, permitted and funded by a government.
I bet you this African Community Centre is funded by the government. I bet you all our rates in Ipswich are funding for that facility, 100%.
Look, there's definitely double standards. I'm not arguing that at all. I mean, the fact that you can have women's only gyms, but can you have dudes only gyms? Is that a thing?
There should be dudes only gyms. I mean, they should be brought back. I mean,
right? There's an issue where we don't have those sort of not strippers, but gentlemen's clubs, like places where dudes can go to have a whiskey and a cigar and just
given that a lot of men's gyms experience are now ruined by those gym hoes who set up their camera and with those see-through yoga pants, stick their bums into the men's face and say, "Stop perving on me," and like they film it for social media clout, and the man's just like, "I just want to work out." I mean, wouldn't a men's only gym would means they can work out in peace without being accused of being a pervert?
Yeah, like I wonder if we did have the government just like, so if the libertarian, I'm in the Libertarian Party, if the libertarian ideas were more, if that became more mainstream and the government just let us have men's gym, let us have the Anglo-Celtic community group, just the same as that, like that would be a move in the right direction. Like and what my argument is, why the hell are we talking about everything's racist and multiculturalism when it's not? We're trying to smash a fucking round peg into a square hole. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just not playing with reality. Doesn't mean we hate anyone.
Right.
Like, we don't have to fucking hate anyone. Like, even if I said deport all these people, I wouldn't be rude about it. I'd say you came here on a visa to study or do some work, and your visa's run out. Thank you. We appreciate you. God bless you. I hope you enjoyed your time here. And let the visa run out and let them return home. And just don't issue visas. Don't, when one visa runs out and goes home, don't issue another two. So we're, you know, the young fucking tradie just finishing his apprenticeship, you know, can he buy a house? Can he afford, you know what I mean? Like, let's get honest. That doesn't mean we hate anyone, you know.
Yeah, and
Not
all
being
the
nasty to people.
so
Here.
supply and demand. Like the government just let too many people in too quickly. Like, and it's not. I mean, this is what some of these founding fathers, like Henry Parkes, was saying. Parkes was like, "Is it safe, wise, or a tolerable thing for us to have nearly 60,000 people belonging to an alien race, out of touch with us in faith, in law, and tradition, and everything in Dear's life, to have them in the midst of our society? Must this not be a thing to be deprecated and lamented and resisted by everyone that wishes well to the social fabric of this new country?" This was like back in the 1800s. This was 1850s or whatever. I don't
And he
know.
was talking about Irish people.
Well, yeah, well,
You know, like, they were.
Irish people were allowed to migrate to Australia under the White Australia policy.
you might have been talking about Asians back in there.
Yeah,
Sort of the
yeah.
mid 1800s, the gold rush era, the Chinamen of the time, as they called them. But I mean, he's saying 60,000 people that are out of touch with us in faith and law and tradition. Like, and back then, 60,000 would have been a huge number for the tiny new colony of Australia. Back in New South Wales, particularly, right? But we're doing the same thing now. Like, we're not heeding that warning, and we're letting what is it in the last 2 years, 1.5 million new people come in, many of whom will be out of touch with us in faith, in law, in tradition, in everything that endears life. Like,
it's all these, like, now it's like Indian curry muncher bashing seems to be, everyone's like paying out on the Indians. I've never met a bad Indian in my life. Like, I've never met a bad Indian in my life. All the Indian mates I've had, or workmates over the years, have been fine people. Working, they're not criminals, they're not selling drugs, they're just working an honest job, paying the taxes, they segregate. They
often starting small businesses, they're super entrepreneurial.
So they're like fine people. But do I think that if there's 1 million Indians on visas right now, just let the visas, like my cousins from Ireland came to Australia and worked with me for 2 years, and they couldn't get visa extensions, and they returned back to Ireland. Isn't that incredible? Yeah, like
the system actually does that to someone. Yeah, it's incredible. I didn't think they did that to anyone.
Was that racist of us to send my Irish cousins back to Ireland? No. They came here. Like, if you issue the visa, you say, well, this is your visa. It's 2 years, 1 year, whatever it is. Look, you've stuffed up. You've issued too many visas. Let them run out. And for the next 3 years or 2 years, we're in a tough situation because the government were idiots.
But you know what they're doing? People go, oh, actually, I'm asylum.
Yeah,
and so, okay, we better assess
that.
We better assess the heck out of your asylum claim. That's going to be another 4 years that you just get to loiter around here because we're not processing these claims fast enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're exactly right, Dave. That's a lot of people who come on temporary visas are basically staying here. They get their foot in the door and they use that to fully push it open and stay.
Here's this. Immigration being quick or slow doesn't make a difference. Our unique behaviors are neurological. It's borderline cruelty to demand that people fit in with an incompatible race of people. And, like, imagine this. Like, I was thinking of this. I heard a TikTok video, and the guy was like, the Pope outlawed inbreeding 1,000 years ago. So, like, apparently they can do tests on the European brain, and because we didn't, continue marrying our second cousins, there are different parts of how our mind is wired. Like, we might be, because we have had 1,000 years of this, we actually might, what my theory is people who inbreed might want to segregate and be around their own more because they've had so much inbreeding. They're actually like genetically wired to stay in the group more, where because our genetics have become a little less like that, we've gone out with our breeding patterns. We are more open to other groups. So like other groups segregate maybe because they have a longer inbreeding is a part of their culture. Like every culture was a part of it until particular time in history where the Pope outlawed it, and bang, we've had 1,000 years of this, and it's rewired and changed the.
I don't even.
It's created us to be more.
It's an interesting theory.
It's not just about our breeding cycles and how we are more open to. I think we're more open and we're a bit more creative, and our brains producing more creativity, and it's completely a different way to think. Doesn't mean I think less of someone who isn't a part of this. I'm not saying that they are less of a human being.
I'm not sure.
I'm a Christian. I believe that they're made in God's image. Genetics are. I believe God created us, and the genetics and the DNA that humans have are so powerful that it could overcome any insufficiency. I don't think there's ever a genetic deficiency argument for anyone. I think like every one of us are made in God's image, and we're completely capable of being proper, law-abiding citizens of excellence. Every one of us. Somalians, you could say Somalians or Aboriginals are the most low IQ. People could say that about Aboriginals. That's a lie. I think the power that God's installed in our DNA is so powerful that Aborigines have the 100% capacity to be excellent human beings and excel in every area. That's what I believe.
I believe you see that. That's look. I don't think I.
But I think we're different. I think we're
inbreeding.
I do think that 1,000 years of inbreeding has affected us, and
I think what we've had is we've had a legacy of Western culture that's been passed down to us as a gift, which now we're sort of rubbing the dog crap on and setting on fire and going, oh, we have all these advantages, and now it's kind of like that survivor's guilt. I think the problem is that Western nations and Western culture, and predominantly that means you look like us and you happen to have fairer complexion because you come from that Western European civilization. We now stand on the shoulders of giants. We've inherited this great gift of these Western freedoms and law and order and belief in the value of the individual and so many other things that have been passed down to us, not necessarily genetically, but just culturally from the British. It's why I think when you get into the Republic conversations, like the Union Jack's important because yes, the UK is a hot mess at the moment, as we discussed at the start of the show, but think about what we inherited from the history of what that means versus where it is today. So I think that has given us this generosity of spirit, and where that has then been subverted and abused. And in the last 100 years, since Karl Marx came along with his manifesto, and those ideas have managed to sort of wedge themselves into academia, and they've completely played us. They've actually taken advantage of that generosity of spirit, that openness and that inviting and that welcoming nature, and they've used it against us, as we talked about. They've changed the language. They've changed what you're allowed to believe. They've changed what you're allowed to think. And that's not okay anymore. And you can't say those things because then you'll get called a nasty name. And the last thing that white people like being done is being called nasty names. Like, oh no, don't call us nasty names. That's the worst thing. And so we've been culturally like that.
Maybe they know that. Like maybe they do. Know.
The activists
maybe they know
that
genetically that Europeans, because we didn't inbreed for 1,000 years, they know that we actually are wired to like to.
Well, no, I don't think it's even genetic. It's just cultural indoctrination. We've been indoctrinated to be polite.
We don't like being called racist because actually our brain is wired to be more open to other people.
We've been taught to be polite and be nice people.
It's a genetic fact, and they use it to manipulate.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Like, they know that the people who wrote this crap are like sociologists. You know, the Frankfurt
Yeah.
Institution and all this are
They know that
sociology
we are taught to
department.
be
They
nice,
study
and
fucking this shit.
we've been told to be nice and be friendly and polite. And all of a sudden, if you start getting called names, all of a sudden that attacks your sense of identity of being the nice and polite person. And we can't handle that. And so we just bow to their demands. And we end up sort of with all this dodgy virtue signaling because no, look, I am nice and kind. I'm polite and I'm inviting and I'm yes, you can do that. And no, I've had too much privilege. I've inherited all this wealth and this
What
great
about
thing
an
that I didn't deserve.
argument?
I didn't deserve. This is stolen land. Why do
What
I
about
deserve
an
to be here?
argument of like the alpha male? So, like, if you look at chimpanzees and shit, the alpha chimp often isn't the biggest, baddest, buffest chimp. It's the chimp who's pretty jacked, but he has an ability to have a coalition, like the largest coalition of the healthiest, and the one who can form a coalition wins. So there's also that argument when you're like, you're a racist. You go, actually, I need a coalition of as many people to like me as possible. You know what I mean? So there are like simple things. You're just like, I actually want to get along with people, and I need to survive. I need to have, you know, a group. Group survival is better than individual alpha survival. Like, it doesn't really work. The alpha people with this ultimate alpha mentality, you see them like, you go, it's not going to work, bro. You know, the tribe will win. And this is the thing, is like, maybe this is Trump's theory. I thought like, oh, Trump, he's talking about Panama and Greenland and Canada and like the United States empire. But maybe Trump realizes, maybe he's like, China wants Taiwan and wants all this. They want to restore an empire. Russia wants to restore an empire. Turkey and the Middle East, they want the Ottoman Empire back. So, like, yes, we've had nation states since World War II. It's so, like, for the longest period of time since the Bible was, you know, before the Bible, it has been tribes and empires. The idea of a nation, not really. Like, the concept of nations as we know it, it's...
Well, nations were conquered by empires.
Yeah. So, like, this goes back to having a coalition and trying to be the alpha. An empire is just a coalition of, you know what I mean? Like, we're going back to a bigger coalition mindset to become the alpha and to have security. Maybe Trump realizes the game's changing again. Maybe they have CIA reports and they know exactly the truth of what's going on, you know?
There has been the clash of civilizations that has been ongoing for the past 30 years, as that was the title of the book by Samuel P. Huntingdale, which talks about how the pending 21st century conflicts will be civilizational. And so mentions obviously the West and the Sino civilization, China, the Eastern Russia. His book has come to fruition. And
well, I mean, our advantage would be English being the biggest language, 2.5 billion, whatever, maybe 5 billion English speakers. So, like, that gives us an advantage. Christianity is the biggest religion. You know what I mean? Like, our education structure is all in English, you know what I mean, around the world.
There's many who have reservations, including me, that, like, to counter the other empires, there needs to be, like, we need to follow Trump in having a Anglosphere empire. I mean, like you were saying, nationalism is a very recent phenomenon in the 19th century, but the thing that's important about nationalism is it gives its people sovereignty, self-determination. And I certainly think any nation, including ours, shouldn't give that. Sure, we should cooperate with like-minded nations, but like we only have to look
You're
at what
gonna
the
end
disaster
up
the
with
EU was.
we'll end up with like a Brussels situation, or
Yeah,
we've got
exactly.
Canberra telling Queenslanders like Bob Catter country how to run things, and it just doesn't work. So with an empire, you're gonna have
Exactly right. I would argue that I get logistically the number of people and the populations they had back in the day, they split the states up the way they did. But now I think our states are way too big. And I think we've discussed this on previous show, Dusty, where like Queensland should be at least 3 or 4 states. New South Wales should be at least 3 states. Victoria should be at least 2 states. South Australia, maybe one. I don't know. WA, at least 2 or 3. They're just too big, and the people are too spread. And how are the people in the capital cities really governing effectively for the people in the country towns? And not, and from that subsidiarity point of view, that sort of self determination and sovereignty point of view, Tim, like being able to say, hey, if you're in this major hub city, be it Toowoomba or something up in Queensland, or it's Wagga or something down here, or Dubbo. How about give them the ability to sort of set a few more rules, laws, and regulations to attract people off the coast to go and live in those cities? Let them set up their own building regulations and so on. Let them set their own corporate tax limits and so on. Let's do those sort but we can't because we have these mega states. And so if we got absorbed by the US, how much worse is that going to be? I think that's one of the things I see when you look at the US and their federalist model. They have so many smaller states. And so they really get this differentiation between the different states where they can try and attract people. There's a lot more of that state to state mobility. Whereas here in Australia, we don't have any of that because people just sort of live in the city they were born in and they die in the city that they're born in, and they never venture anywhere else, and they don't go and live in different cities. There's no reason for them because all their networks and everything just happens to be there, and there's nothing to attract them to have a better life. The other cities and states have limited options to do that because they're these megaliths.
Yeah. Ipswich. Like Ipswich, I mean, here's a little, it's kind of off subject, but it is. We've got a giant dump in the middle of Ipswich, right? And everyone complains about the stench of it. And I'm like, the state government is not solving the problem. The councils literally can't really do anything. So it has to be the state government or federally. I don't know what they need to do is like find new land for the dump to move. And then that land that the dump is current, nothing will ever happen with it. You can't ever build anything on it, right? Like
Sydney Olympic Park used to be a dump, right?
Yeah.
So,
my theory, what I want us to do in Ipswich is that area naturally around the dump is where everyone goes for driving and motorbike, taking their motorbikes. And I'm just like, just make it into a motorbike for drive area. But no, they won't do this because of like regulation, insurance. What happens if someone has an accident? It's like it's already happening now. People are doing it illegally. But like, you know what, if Ipswich had more say of what the hell's going on, maybe they could be like, in this area, you can go to our council website and sign this waiver. And if Jimmy breaks his fucking neck riding a postie bike,
and maybe to your point, maybe you don't need sub-states and so on. Maybe some of the just a bit of deregulation, libertarian style is all we need, just to empower local communities to do more gear without being tied up in so much red tape. Now, I struggle with some of the looser libertarian policies, but I think there's a lot to be said for some of that deregulation to a point.
That's why national libertarianism, Dave, is the answer. You have to have the mixture of the both.
Federalist libertarianism.
There you go. We're solving the problems of planet Earth. I would be like, the city council's donating this bobcat to this area, and then just like throw the boat, like the tribe of bogans, you just throw them the keys, and then just let them create like the world's greatest motocross and four-drive park you've ever seen. Like, just let it happen. And like Ipswich, people in Ipswich would be like, I'm buying a motorbike tomorrow. I'm buying a four-drive. People start getting in debt to like go four-driving motorbike, and it boosts the economy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it would legit be a win for Ipswich. Could totally happen. And like currently, they're boarding up the four driving and the motorbike tracks. They're telling you need a license to go fishing in the Ipswich River. And then they go, oh, there's a crime crisis. The kids are stealing things. You're like,
fishing licenses are retarded. Like
Fishing
recreational fishing licenses
most licenses are retarded.
Yeah, I mean, we were, like I said, we were up at Port Macquarie, and my son really wanted to do fishing, and I was like, and we looked at the license costs. I'm like, freaking, I'm gonna have to pay tax. And fortunately, the fine print said, if you're an adult helping a person under 16 or whatever, then there's no license required. So children are allowed to fish, and as an adult, you can help them. So I'm like, thank goodness for that, because I almost wasn't going to take him fishing on the principle of I'm not paying this stupid government theft tax for a stupid fishing license just to avoid a fine.
I guess we just have, like, at the current state, we just have to be like, F you, I'm going fishing. Like, yeah. I just go, I'm just going to ride my postie bike. I don't care. Like,
if there's a fine,
bike is unregistered, it has no insurance, the indicators are smashed on it. I'm going to go ride the postie in the bush. And is a cop going to really...
If you're in the bush, it's fine. It's when you start like taking it through the main street and sort of parking up the lights, and then that's a safety hazard.
Yeah. But we're gone mad. We've gone mad. Like I see a 3-wheel electric postie bikes now. Like, there's no more real postie bikes anymore.
They're all e-bikes and stuff now, right?
But like electric 3-wheeler.
E-bikes. Yeah, we've just got pushies, but they're the e-bike pushies, like in my area. So they're just driving around a pedal e-bike pushy.
Ooh, that's insulting. We have like these 3-wheeler like electric things cruising around. But what I don't understand is, can I go buy one of them for $3,000 and can I drive that thing to work? How come the fucking postie can have this electric 3-wheeler? I would buy one tomorrow and I'd cruise around everywhere on it just for fun. It looks like fun. I'd spend $3,000 on one, but I don't think I can.
Yeah, I think in New South Wales there's heaps of regulations against like the segways. You can't just ride the segways like you do a bike on the side of the road. And there's all these laws about what you can and can't do. So those are the little Segway things that you can then like bolt into a little go-karting chassis and stuff. You should be able to just, maybe not in the go-kart mode, but standing up, riding along, you should be able to use those if you want, but you're not allowed to. They're banned.
Just do it. My theory is like, just do it. Just do it. And then if the cops get you, just be respectful to the police and just be like, yeah, mate, I'm having a cruise on the postie. I love the cops. One time a meth addict, jumped my back fence, and I think he was robbing my neighbor, and I called the cops because I didn't want to get stabbed by a meth addict over a, TV Xbox he was trying to steal. So I'd be like, I love the cops.
Yeah, cops.
But are you going to really get upset about a dude cruising around on a postie bike in the bush? So just go fishing.
The only ones that are going to get upset about that are the a-hole ones that are on a power trip. Most of them aren't going to care, right?
I'm waiting for people in Ipswich to just crack the chainsaw out and like where they've barred up the 4 drive tracks, they just rock up with a chainsaw and just like drop a tree down and then just drive around it.
Around my place, there's a few like areas that are still foresty and a few tracks and things where they haven't developed houses yet. And they were putting in some new roadworks, and there was this contraflow, which was this 4-way intersection contraflow. It took freaking 4 hours to get through it. It was insane. But then like a block over there was this like dirt track, like this unsealed road that basically connected up the 2 roads. So you could just skip this whole contra thing. So everyone's just plowing down this unsealed road. And then the council goes, "Oh, that's no good because you're going to put potholes in our unsealed road because it's not built for that much traffic." So then they got the giant concrete, the big barricades, and they barricaded off one end of this unsealed road to say, no, you can't use this as a thoroughfare anymore. So what's brilliant is there was a few gap in the trees, so then people just sort of built a new little track around the barricades, which
This
look, I
is what they're
used it
doing.
because it was freaking awesome. It was such a time saver. Like now the contraflow's gone now, no one needs it, but the barricades are still there. They are now a permanent legacy that this unsealed road has become a no through road.
This is
Madness.
the future. Like it's like that. What was the Sylvester Stallone movie where he's a cop and he eats the rat burger?
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. That's the future we're heading in, Dave. Where
Yeah.
you do what you got to do.
In 2020, when I was on, was it Thirsty Thursday or Cheap Tuesday? We played a clip from Demolition Man because it was like what was happening during COVID because we weren't allowed to touch anyone. There was a toilet paper shortage.
Bang. That's exactly right. That's where we're at. Anyway, let's wrap this stream up. An hour and a half. I'm cooked. I'm fully cooked.
Yeah, I did my own Wilm's Front show earlier tonight.
Did ya?
So I did a double shift.
Oh,
Just name
Tim,
it Thirsty
machine.
Thursday. The early Thirsty Thursday show.
Yeah, and I'm all out. So
Ew.
that's a wrap for me.
We've got 2 Australia Month events coming up in beautiful Queensland. I do want everyone to know. I should have. This Monday, the Libertarian branch in Ipswich is doing an Australia Month themed event, and then the following week we've got Voting Matters doing an Australia Month themed event. So, and then we've got Australia Day barbecue coming up. We just got our council approval this afternoon, just before I was live on air. So, Australia Day barbecue, the big family Australia Day barbecue is happening, and we jumped on the bandwagon and started advertising it before we even had the permit, but now it's official. We were going to do it anyway, like we were saying earlier. Just do it and be polite and friendly if anyone gets upset.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome to see you doing that sort of stuff. We're a bit lower key down here. I don't think we're doing any big events down here in Sydney land. I'll be having mates over for a barbie on Oz Day and continuing to try and peddle my t-shirts. I sold one. I sold one of these today. Amy, thank you, Amy, for buying the Dave Right Now Australia Day Jan 26 always was, always will be shirt.
Nice. Last night I actually bought. I went to the One Nation website and I bought some thongs, Australian made, on that website.
Nice.
So that was sick. Hopefully they should get here in time. Does your shirt come in black, Dave?
Yes, there is a black version.
I might be tempted to go buy one.
Nice. Free shipping on the Etsy store.
Really? Free shipping?
Yeah. Very generous.
That's incredible. How much does a shirt go for?
$29.99.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
With free shipping included.
Shipping included. I'm going to go buy one. You legend, Dave. Rightio, gentlemen. I'll catch you all maybe next Thirsty Thursday. I've started a new job, so there's a chance that I might get snowed under, but I'm going to try to keep Thirsty Thursdays alive. We'll see how we go. I don't think I'll be able to help myself.
Thanks, Dusty.
Well, thanks for having us, mate, and I'll get you on an Awakened Aussies in the coming weeks and months.
Legend. Thanks, everyone who tuned in. God bless you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks.